So, all right, here we go. Hello, Keep Singing members. I'm delighted that you are watching this. Today, Audrey and I are here. So exciting. And I didn't have any particular questions for Q&A today, so I picked one myself from a past question. I have, as you probably can imagine, a multitude of questions that students have asked me to address in lessons and such, and so I picked one. So we're gonna go for it. And let me see if I can get rid of this off my screen. Okay, so today I'm going to address how can I get lower, more powerful low notes, basically. And this is kind of near and dear to my heart because I struggled with this myself, being a classically trained soprano. And in the classical world, if you're like really into it, you basically kind of focus a lot on what's called your tessitura, which is the pretty part of your vocal range. And I do love that. And each person should try to capitalize on their tessitura. So you may not know what your particular tessitura is, but you've probably heard yourself singing and you know kind of what part of your range both feels good and sounds the best. And generally speaking, that's going to match up with your vocal range tessitura. So let's just toss out the word tessitura for now, although I might accidentally throw it in there from time to time. But every singer, no matter if they are a quote high-voiced singer or a low-voiced singer, wants to have effective, profound, full, rich, well-bodied, so to speak, low notes. And because you want to be able to, let me give you an example of what it sounds like if a singer has not really figured out how to get into their low part of their range and figured out how to learn how to release that part of their range. So a person might be singing, just I can't think of a song, so I'll just do the solfege scale. So you might be going do, and I'm going to kind of stick to a more kind of contemporized type of approach to it. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So as opposed to, that's me kind of staying locked into my upper range of where my voice is resonating. And this would be an example of me being able to go into my middle to lower range. Do, so I'm going to start the same way. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So what I've done there is I started in the same place, ended in the same place, but I allowed my resonance to transfer, and that's something we're going to talk about, my resonance to transfer from primarily resonating in my head spaces, sinus cavities and such, down into my pharyngeal, through my pharyngeal area, which is the space at the top of your throat, basically in the back of your mouth, and down into kind of where what we call the chest voice or the lower range. I don't love saying head voice, chest voice, and all that kind of stuff because people think all kinds of things and they might think they have thought not might think. I've had students say, things like, oh, well, does head voice mean that I'm singing, like my voice is being made up here? Kind of but not really. Or conversely, is if I'm singing in my chest voice, is my voice being generated from my chest? So no, but yes, the voices originated here, one place in your larynx. That's the place where your voice originates. And for Guy, you can see mine as I get older. You can definitely see where my larynx is more than you used to when I had smooth skin. If I do that, you can see what I look like when I was younger. And but as you get older, your larynx becomes more prominent. It is what it is. Embrace it, roll with it. And but for guys, almost no matter the age, for most guys with kind of a middle of the road guy voice, you'll be able to see their where their larynx protrudes right there, and we call it the Adam's apple. But that's where everybody's larynx is, and you can find it by putting your fingertip on the front of your throat, about in the middle, and just saying, "Hi, my name is Natalie. Hi, my name is fill in the blank." And you can feel the vibrations happening like crazy because those are your vocal folds oscillating inside there, and your larynx is moving and stretching and lengthening, thinning and thickening those vocal folds and vocal cord edges to produce the different uh, length that you need to get the frequency that you need to get the pitch that you want. And that all starts in the brain and happens in the larynx. So, but the larynx doesn't move around your body doesn't go up here to produce head voice sounds or go down here to produce chest voice sounds. What it does is the larynx shifts and tilts. And according to that shift and tilt, and also you do have a degree of control over this, those sound waves that you produce here in your larynx through the coordination between, you can't see this, the diaphragm pushing on the lungs and pushing up the air, and the larynx, that produces the voice resonating in different resonation areas of your body. And I do have a little diagram here, so let me share that. Let me get rid of this and share this diagram with you. So this kind of shows you some of the different places that you sense the voice resonating in different parts of your vocal range. And this is kind of a slightly complex diagram, probably more complex than it needs to be, but it's still pretty good. And you might feel, and everybody's just slightly different, right? Because everybody, these are generalizations, but they're pretty good generalizations. No matter if you are female, this happens to be a female little model drawing thing here, but the same is true for men. So when you are resonant, you produce your voice from here. And Audrey, can you see my cursor? You're able to see the cursor, right? Okay. So this is where your larynx sits, and that's where it stays. It doesn't move. But the sound waves will resonate differently. So when you're resonating in your head voice, it's the sound waves are moving through this open space. These are your sinus cavities. The pink or purplish pinkish kind of area is the space where they're bouncing around, primarily in that space, the open space, which is also in and of itself filled with lots of folds and stuff. Like we won't even get into that. That's like where when you get a sinus infection, you can get an overbuildup. That's caused by an overbuildup of mucus production, and it can get stuck up in there because things get too, what's the word? Inflamed, and the mucus can't drain, et cetera, et cetera. But there's all kinds of folds and stuff that are up there. So the sound waves are bouncing around in there, but they also bounce around on your bones and in your your soft tissues and stuff like that. Those are the things that produce your voice. But when you are resonating up there, you can feel these different sensations. I want to make one thing super clear. We don't sing to the sensations. We sing with the goal of having a relaxed larynx, relaxed neck, good breath support, and we can kind of direct the resonance, but we do not sing to resonate in a certain place. That should be secondary to your technique of good vocal production, and not trying necessarily to send it to a different place or another place, but to be aware of those and to feel what it feels like to sing well or correctly when you are singing well and correctly. I always joke that singing is 97% this or 97% that, and really truly is a lot of singing is producing a good voice by using vocal technique and then paying attention to how that feels and where you're feeling things when you are singing with ease and it's fluid and it's just like you could sing forever. Pay attention to that. And then you're trying to replicate it and have it, what's the technique that I did? What was I doing that produced that sense of ease? So being aware of your resonance and where things are kind of the senses are happening, they're things simply to be aware of and to think about how you got there. The how you got there is your technique, and the sensations are just things to be aware of that your technique produces. All right, so now, if you are singing low, which today, of course, is our focus, is the low notes. I've talked about all that because it's easier to show, this up here because this diagram is more easy to see. Lower notes, middle notes, high notes. Okay, but when you are singing low notes, you might feel a sense of vibration down here. Again, we don't sing to the sensations for the sensations, but we recognize, those are the sensations that I feel when I'm singing well and my lower range. You might also, conversely, pay attention to what are the sensations I feel when things do not flow well and things are tight. You want to ask yourself the same question. What am I doing technique-wise that that's not feeling good, that's feeling tight, that I can't get it to sound or feel like I think it should feel, or like I've been told it's supposed to feel. And that's where some coaching comes in and is helpful to help you identify where your technique may be off or non-existent, to know how to correct that so that you're not trying to squeeze or compensate or depress your larynx or raise your larynx or do things that are actually they're not gonna like permanently harm your voice usually, but it can definitely harm your tone or the timbre of your sound, the overall character and quality of your voice, like the way you want to sound. It will certainly impact those things. So you want to learn what technique it takes to support, in our case today, low notes well. So now I have talked about breath support in past lessons, so I'm not gonna, so if you haven't done that, go back and do the breath support module and watch those replays and start working on those breathing exercises and progress yourself through them. I feel like I preach on that in every single thing because they're so important. So now, all right, so let's get to, okay, how can I have better low notes? Let me stop sharing this and go back to me. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to do what I just preached about, which is get your breath control and breath support under control and strengthen the muscles that it takes and the coordination that it takes to have good breath support. So go back and do that. That's great, because one of the two problems that can happen that can produce thin or just sad, pathetic low notes is either not enough air and you're kind of squeezing and you're kind of trying to get low and you're not supporting it from here and you're trying to have low notes, but I'm not giving it support, or too much air. Have low notes so I can get low. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? So I can get there. It's there, but there's not any power behind it, and there's not a lot of vocal clarity of those notes. So, all right. So, not enough air, better breath support. Too much air, better breath support. Another thing about too much air is getting better vocal cord closure. So we have talked, again, in past lessons about phonation. So you can go back and review the lessons on phonation. In that, we learned that the vocal folds get pulled together when the brain says, time to sing some notes or speak. The larynx pulls the kind of curtain or canopy or whatever you want to call it of the vocal folds together. The vocal cords meet, the vocal folds oscillate. When you have too much breath, the vocal folds are not meeting all the way. So you might, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Pitch accuracy, but a lot of extra breath. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The second was an example of good vocal cord closure. One quick fix for that, and there's whole lessons that I've given on practicing vocal cord closure, but the quick fix for that is the squeaky door or the singing at the edge, squeaky hinge, people call it different things. But that is where you bring the vocal folds together and you do a lot of focus on getting the vocal cords, which are not muscular, that's ligament tissue. I was like, what are the words? And bringing those together so that they are almost kind of rubbing against each other. Doesn't really hurt you if you're doing this lightly. So what I mean by this is so you can tell it's definitely kind of an overcorrection of not having enough connection to having slightly too much connection, and it's fine in short periods of time. If you're singing like that all the time, you're probably going to produce some type of vocal change in your timbre, or even potentially produce some type of vocal damage. So, do it in short spurts. It's not going to hurt you. Don't worry about it. But one thing that you can do is do that between your kind of chest, starting in your chest voice and going up into your head voice. And again, this is the quick fix version of this. All we're trying to do is to get our vocal folds to come together so that you get rid of the breathiness so you can have better support. So after you do that several times and you feel like you're getting better closure, move on. All right. So there is a term in singing called open throat singing. Okay. And it's got like a whole pedagogical volumes are written on it. Okay. So I'm going to try to give it to you in like 10 seconds, which is, you want to relax your neck and throat and give your voice as much space as you can. Okay, that's the 10-second version. Now I'm going to kind of give you some other things about this. Okay, so one thing with singing is sometimes we use our larynx, we try to raise it or lower it to try to produce higher or lower pitch. But when we raise our larynx, okay, backing up, we know that the voice is, because we just went over it, and from our vocal anatomy stuff previously, that the voice is produced here. All right, it's produced in one place, it just resonates and becomes the voice that we hear the rest of the body. That's just resonation. So, but people think wrongly that we want to push our larynx up to get higher notes or press it down to get lower notes. If you some examples of raising or lowering, to lower your voice, your larynx, you yawn. You can yawn. Okay, did you see how my larynx went down? Well, let me point it out to you. Okay, so when you yawn, you both raise your palate and lower your larynx, and that's how you get that gigantic wide open space, which I'm actually going to have an exercise on in just a moment. When you push the larynx up, you kind of get that strained grabbing, you can, mm, mm, and my eyes are bugging out too. Um, Kermit the Frog here too. So if you think my Kermit the Frog voice, that is an imposed or raised larynx. So you can control that. Okay, and that comes with time and just focusing on it and stuff like that. Um, what we want to do is allow the larynx to be where it is and to be able to do all the changes and shifts that it needs to do without either imposing or depressing it. Or deposing doesn't sound right, but anyways, can't think of the right word at the moment. So we don't want to impose it or press it down. So we don't want to raise it or lower it. How about that? So, all right, okay, another issue is like when you push up the larynx, it can create that tight, thin sound. When you push it down, it creates that dopey sound, that oh, or that too yawny sound. Oh, and you kind of get that sound like there's a golf ball in the back of your throat while you're singing. So we want none of that. We have to remember that the larynx itself, as a functional piece of equipment, does not, it does produce pitches, but it doesn't raise pitch when we're singing or lower pitch when we're singing, or shouldn't. It does, however, change the timbre, which I've talked about before. It can change the sound quality of the voice by either the imposition or the lowering. Again, can't think of the right word for that. But anyways, so we want to sing with a relaxed throat. You need to also, that's a kind of a solution number one, sing with a relaxed neck and throat. Let the larynx move and do its job, and the larynx will thank you for it, and your whole body will thank you for it in the end, and so will your audiences. And then understand also resonance transfer, so you feel how that resonance is shifting through your range. Now, let's talk again about getting those fuller, thicker, not thicker, but more robust low notes. Oh, there's so many things I could say. I'm trying to narrow it for you as we go because I don't want to run out of time again. So we want to produce a not too heavy or dopey sound, duh, like this, oh, and you guys that sing, I know that you have probably done this yourself. If you've sung in a choir, you've seen men do it, and you'll mainly see altos doing this too, but some sopranos, if they're trying to access, and tenors, if they're trying to access their lower range, they might lower their chin too. Okay, there's a problem, don't do this, to try to get lower notes, or because you're actually working against yourself. You're actually disabling your larynx from being able to do the movements it needs to do. It needs to be able to lengthen and thicken the vocal cord edges so that you can get those lower note oscillations and vibrations. So if you do that, you're working against yourself, even though you think you are helping yourself. You're not. So, all right. Okay, so let's talk about some exercises that you can do and get these on your exercise list in your singing notebook. All right, share screen, Natalie. Okay, here we go. Let's go back here. Oh, wrong thing. Hold on. There it is. Okay, so this is the what I call the EA exercise. This came from Jeannie Diva's contemporary vocalist method, and which is fantastic. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stay in our lower range. Now this is not a do this in front of your loved one or somebody you're trying to get to be your loved one. Don't do it in front of your kids or you'll never live it down. It's not very attractive, let's put it that way. So what you want to do is stick your tongue out just past your lips, like that. Okay, and let me give a better, let me show you the position before we go into the looking at the diagram. So we want to stick your tongue out like that, and you want to keep your lips and jaw super relaxed and really not participating in this very much at all. We're going to try to get the tongue, I'm not going to try. We're going to have the tongue, middle and back of the tongue do most of the work. You want everything to be relaxed here, and you want to be supporting from here like we've talked about in our breathing exercise stuff. So you want to expand your rib cage before you do this, because this is kind of like you just go until you run out of breath on this one for each repetition that you do. Let's go back to our diagram. So remember, stick your tongue out, looking good. Stick your tongue out, relax your lips, relax your jaw. And you're going to start on E, and you noticed here that we have the crest and the trough. The vowel sounds each start before the crest and before the trough. So you want to be going over that hill on the E vowel and then going through that valley on the Ah vowel. Okay, so here is what it looks like and sounds like. And I'm not going to cross my primo passaggio, which is where that place in your voice, your break spot, your flip spot, whatever you want to call it, it's where your larynx has to shift in order to start resonating in your upper range, okay? We're not going to go past that because we're focusing on lower notes today. So you stick your tongue out. Let me demonstrate it because I can't talk while I'm doing it. All right, so I went through about 3 cycles of that, and now let me do it where you're looking at that diagram again while I'm doing it, so you can see how my voice matches the diagram. And if you can, look at me from time to time while looking at the little diagram thing, you can see my jaw kind of flexes with it, but I am not doing, I'm not doing that. The vowel is changing with my tongue movement primarily. So, and there's just a little bit of activity you can see here and here. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is bubble lips. Woo! One of my favorite things, and some people's worst enemy. They hate bubble lips, but Audrey, are you bubble lips up or down? Good. Woo! So now this is bubble lips. I encourage all my singers to teach yourself. Everybody can do it eventually. I've taught people that swore they couldn't do it. It does take time and persistence and doing it regularly. You're not just going to wake up one day. Well, I don't know, maybe you will, but you got to just kind of keep going at it. People can acquire this more easily than doing tongue trills. So, but these are bubble lips. That's bubble lips. I have worked at it enough where I can do it without putting my fingertips in my cheeks, but you might want to. All that does is helps you relax your lips so that they can flutter better. And so you might, if you're not accustomed to doing bubble lips or lip trills, you can start with just practicing getting your lips to flutter. Then add the phonation behind it. The picture I always think of for this is motorboat. Like you pretend you're a kid in the pool pushing your motorboat around. So that is I don't know, works for me. So you come up with whatever visualization and imagery works for you. I'll do what works for me and share it and sound like a total dweeb when I do so. All right, so if you want to release your lips a little bit more, you can take your fingertips and you're just going to put them in. If you have dimples, find your dimple spot. If you don't have dimples, somewhere where you imagine you might have. If you always wanted them, now's your chance. So I only have one dimple, so I totally got robbed. One got stolen, the other one's still here. It's been that way all my life. My mom had the same thing. So you're going to find your approximate dimple place, but it's about an inch past behind the where your lips are together. And then you're going to just lightly press your cheeks in, just so lightly. You are not jamming your fingers in. You are not pulling your lips or pushing your lips or going up or down. If anything, 1 millimeter up, but only a millimeter, not even a centimeter. Okay, so for those who do not know metrics, then about a 1/16 of an inch-ish. Okay, so super tiny. Fingers gently in and 1/16 of an inch up or a millimeter. Okay, so a teeny bit. And then you might find that that releases your lips to flap more easily. Okay, so once you have gotten yourself to do that, we're going to do this on what is called the Rossini scale. I love me some Rossini scale. It's like the bomb. Some people call it the 1.5 scale. So it's like this. I don't know if you can see this. Get this out of the way. Yes, you can. So 1.5 scale. Okay, so that's 1.5 way through a scale. If it was all the way to the top, that would be two octaves. This is 1.5 octave scale. And then the Rossini scale goes like this. Okay, so that's the shape of it. Guys, and lower voices. I can't do it down there because it's stuck on some voice that I can't figure out how to get it off of, and so it goes like this. Which is kind of jazzy, but kind of annoying at the same time. So, but see what I mean? I don't even know how it's doing that. If anybody knows, let me know. Okay, so it's whatever. So but learn the shape of it, and then you would do yours an octave down. I'm going to play it for you because I'm terrible at playing these on anything except the key of C. Here it is. Okay, so then you would work your way down in your range. So, and here I've got it on, and there's actually, there is a site. Go back. Hello. It's called Singer's Advantage. This is a YouTube channel. They have tons of voice exercises. This is just one of them. It's kind of opera focused, but lots of them you can go through, pick out ones you like, add them to your exercise repertoire. So this is what it sounds like if you were going to modulate each time. And so now, for somebody, if you are trying to get your lower notes, what you would want to do is warm your voice up in your middle range, like normal, then go down and find, like in this case, I would start with the lowest that I can get to with my bubble lips. And I'm going to be doing this up the octave, so I can't even get that low. So I'm going to do it up an octave until I can get to one that I can do. When you do this, and I highly recommend, check this out. It's called Rossini scale, A2 to E5. It's really for males. There's also one for females, but I wanted this because I really wanted us to think about low notes. But when you go through, the more you do and just kind of doing different octaves until you can hit one that you can do, you will start to feel, don't hurt or like try to approach those low notes with as relaxed of a throat as you can, not pressing, as we've talked about, not pressing your larynx down, but try to join in the second you can produce a low note without any kind of pressing or tension. And then and practice them. They're not going to be amazing, those low notes initially, because you're trying to make them more robust. But here's what I know. Whatever song you're working on that you're trying to get better low notes for, if you will work your range gently in those low notes, doing the EA, doing the Rossini scale bubble lips, or you can really use anything, but I love the Rossini scale because it's so effective and it does a lot of your voice all at once. And I love bubble lips and lip trills and tongue trills because they relax everything, and you cannot do them unless you are relaxed. So as a singer, it will benefit you greatly to learn to do the bubble lips or learn to do the tongue trills, the lip trills or tongue trills. Learn to do them. Take the time it takes you to figure them out and how to relax yourself enough to be able to do them. So as you are doing them low, it's going to make your sung low notes better. It's going to make them more full and more robust. Okay, I've got one more for you. We'll try to fit it in. So this last exercise I call the yawn sigh, and I love it because we're going to learn how to open up fully, have everything super full, and maintain that. And I mean openness, have everything super open like you are when you yawn, like ain't nothing closed up about a yawn, not a good one anyway. And maintain that openness all the way down until it joins your your singing voice, where the yawn itself ends or stops, like the yawn aspect of this is done, but you then go into a diaphragmatic support and coordination between your larynx and your diaphragm, and you maintain the tone you're producing all the way down with as much openness as you can generate, which was generated by the yawn. Okay, so, and from this, you're going to have much more full and robust lower notes, because you're going to become more in touch with how do I maintain openness below my head voice, okay, for higher voices, and even for voices that are already low. Well, if you don't have this problem, you're probably not watching this video, but if you already have like a naturally resonant low voice, you'll just want to focus on your breathing and breath support and making sure that you are not giving too much air or too little air, which we talked about earlier. You want to just have good breath support for your low range. But this is really for people who were having issues with their low range and yada yada. Okay, so here is the yawn sigh, which, okay, when we did the EA, I said, you know, don't do this in front of anybody you're trying to, I didn't say it this way, but don't do this in front of anybody you're trying to impress, okay? Because this is even uglier than the EA is. You didn't ask me to make you look good while you were practicing. You just asked me to help you get a better voice. So that is what I'm doing, even if you look ridiculous doing it. But I am going first. I will look ridiculous first. When you yawn, it's just reflexive, and there's not a lot you can do to stop that train unless you just are able to catch it and stifle the yawn before you do it. Okay. But we do not want to stifle it. We want to just fully ride this train. We want to ride the wave of the big yawn. So, okay, here's what a yawn sigh looks like. Then I'm going to talk you through it. Okay? And again, I apologize for how weird I look in advance. I apologize in advance for how weird I'm about to look. Okay. Okay, your eyes get all bug-eyed, your mouth is huge. You know, I mean, come on. My husband didn't marry me for my yawn face. Um, Although maybe he did, which would make him all the more endearing. I'm sure I yawned plenty because we met when we were both in grad school. Woo! We yawned quite a bit. Like you're tired all the time. So, okay, now, what am I doing? So I am generating a yawn or catching a yawn, as the case may be. I kind of generated those, but I'm pretty good at generating yawns. Sadly or not. But get into what you want is a real yawn. You really don't want a fake yawn. You really want to try to get a real yawn if you can. So this might be something that you practice in the evening or in the afternoon when you naturally have a lull before you go out and do your 20 jumping jacks or whatever it takes to wake yourself up for the rest of your day, or before you have your coffee and you're naturally, through the use of coffee, which is a diuretic, depleting your humidity, moisture in your body. You know what I'm saying? Where you pee the water out of your body, because coffee is a natural diuretic. It also is I think the term is vasoconstrictor. So it constricts your blood vessels. And so therefore you are not getting the same amount of blood flow. I'm getting off on this, but like you want to do this before you have your afternoon coffee or whatever it is that you do to wake yourself up for the second half of your day, or before your nap even, while you're yawning is the point. So when you catch yourself on a series of yawns, go find yourself a closet to hide in and practice your yawn sigh a few times. Okay, that was the whole point of that digression. So you catch the yawn, and when that happens, like everything opens up. Your soft palate raises, your larynx lowers, you have the most space. You feel the stretch in your pharyngeal area, which is the space in the top of your throat. You feel that stretch. You feel as wide open and stretched as you pretty much ever are. And you want to phonate during that. Like a lot of people will sigh, but they won't sigh until the very end of a yawn when they go, ah, okay, I don't want that. I want you to start phonating almost as soon as you possibly can, and start producing the tone with your voice, the pitch with your voice. You want to start producing phonation, okay? Start phonating is the verb. And produce sound, pitched sound, and raise it up, kind of like ride it to the top. It feels like you're going to the top of your mouth, the top of your throat, the top of your head, the roof, and that high, like, oh, then ride it down after that big yawn sensation. Ride it all the way down. Your larynx is going to have to shift at some point, because it's got to shift. That's your premophagia, the place where your larynx shifts in order to access different ways to phonate. So when you start a yawn, you are producing head voice sound. You are phonating and resonating primarily in your sinus cavities and all in your head and these spaces and structures up here. And then when you go down, your larynx has to shift. Let it shift. That's when you really got to tune in. When you're almost like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way done with your breath. You need to support, you need to think, support, coordinate between diaphragm and larynx. Keep the openness going and support it all the way down. I liken this to like the start of the yawn is kind of like the part where a person, hopefully wearing a parachute, is being shot out of a cannon. Okay, so it go up first and then come down. So that's why like being dropped out of a plane does not work for this, because you want the sensation of going up first. So envision somebody being shot out of a cannon, like the old school days, Evel Knievel, etc. Shot out of a cannon, or Wile E. Coyote and all that stuff. Shot out of a cannon, goes up. So that's your yawn, the and all that stuff. Okay, so now it's going to be coming down. Okay, did you hear that little doop, little bumpity bump in the road? That was my larynx saying, I've got to shift. Okay. After that, I put the parachute on. The parachute is, it's really more like the sensation of coordinating your breath support is this, it's kind of more like, I honestly can't think of, you're supporting it from down here, but the only picture I can come up with is a parachute. Maybe you have a better one. Let me know. So, but you support with your breath so that the whole thing doesn't just crumble. If I don't support with my breath, here's what happens. Okay. Okay, it all just ends. It just kind of fizzles and dies. Here's what happens if the larynx shifts and I support it from my diaphragm and my rib cage. Okay, so I almost doubled it, right? And I definitely doubled, and I didn't feel any kind of constriction when it died out. I actually felt like my larynx just being like, help, help me, you're not helping me. When I did it properly as I'm describing it to you and supported after it entered, after my larynx shifted, and I supported it with my breath and my rib cage, controlling that descent, so to speak. That's why I use the parachute image. Supporting that note, it's almost like you're cradling it down. Oh, you know what it's like? Here we go. Tossing a raw egg. Have you ever done a raw egg toss? Like at a fair or something like that. I don't know. Somebody's birthday party. When you toss the egg to the other person, the unlucky schmuck, toss it up, and for a good egg catch, because I used to be really good at this back when this was a thing. I haven't seen an egg catch in a long time, egg toss. But you have to cradle it like this, right? Woo, shoo, and bring it down. That's the same type of thing as when you support the note, the tone, the production of tone all the way down. You're supporting your larynx in being able to continue producing those low notes while everything is still wide open. You have all the openness and spaciousness in your tone quality, and it does not have to die out until you physically can't produce it anymore, because we all do have a limit to our range. We are trying to broaden and improve the quality of the sound of our notes within our range. So, okay, that is the yawn side. So the three exercises that I gave you today are EA, the bubble lips, and on the Rossini scale, or any scale you've got available to you. If you don't know how to play the Rossini scale and you're doing your own exercise at home, you can come up with something else that covers a portion of your range and then just keep working it down on your bubble lips, okay, using your bubble lips. Um, the bubble lips help the larynx stay in place so that you're not either imposing it or depressing it. So you were just not making it do anything. It's just able to do what it knows it needs to do, what your brain signals it to do, and it is free to do that. And then the third is the yawn sigh, and you want to carry that and support that all the way down into your lower range. Okay, so please send me any questions if there's a point that needs clarification. If you have something for the fourth week of this month, we're in May. Did I do this wrong? Again? I keep doing this. Was it because I can't even believe we're in May. I did, y'all. This was not supposed to be Q&A week. I think I even proposed it last week as Q&A week. Your voice teacher is a nutcase. This was supposed to be core teaching. Well, hopefully it was helpful. We'll do the core teaching next week and swap these 2 weeks out. Y'all. Thank you for loving me anyway. I'm here. Send me questions, send me issues. On week 4, ooh, yes, I'll still be able to do that. On week 4, I'm going to be traveling, but I will still be able to meet with y'all. I'll just be in Colorado. Yay! Yeah, so the 28th will be our What's in Your Way week. And if I have to pre-record that, I'll let y'all know. But I'm currently planning to meet with y'all on that date anyway. Okay, so send me any questions, anything you would like me to address on that week. This week, figure out when you're going to practice, write it in your schedule, and do it. And always be collecting good exercises. Add them to your singing notebook. Use the vision file. If you have not, here's a mild scolding. If you have not sent me your first recording and you haven't completed the questionnaire, and further, if you have never even found the page where that questionnaire is, I actually created a couple of different videos and sent those because so many people had not sent me their recordings yet. I was like, maybe people don't know where it is. So there's a page on the Keep Singing website, keep-singing.com, that has a questionnaire that I would like for you to complete. Some of you have done it and some of you have not. Also on that page are the instructions for sending me, and it's mostly for you, but it's also for me, a video that you record of yourself. I don't want you to overthink that. I just want you to pick a song and do it. Do not spend weeks doing this. Spend 10 minutes picking a song, spend 20 minutes practicing it if you want, and then record yourself singing it, send it to me, like upload it to your YouTube channel and send me the link to that, or put it in your Dropbox or whatever, send me the link. Put it in your member area. You can put it as a journal entry and you can make it private if you would like. You can tag me. Yeah, and but get that done. That serves as a benchmark for you, and it just gives me something to hear you sing now, because If I hear, the more videos that I can hear of y'all, then I can, on Q&A week and on What's in Your Way week, I can maybe address things that I hear in those videos that could use help, right? That's what you're here for, to get better. So I would love to help you. I can't do it if I don't get your videos. Okay, all right. You guys have a wonderful week and keep singing.